Bill Gates said, "I will always choose a lazy person to do a difficult job because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it." What's a real-life example of this? The clerk was asked to bring 145 white papers into the office. He doesn't want to count the papers manually, so he printed 145 blank sheets and took them in. Smart. He used a machine that counts as one of its functions, but not the primary function, to do the counting for him. It's just enough outside of the box that most people wouldn't think to do it at all. Plus, as a bonus, they're all nice and warm. Warm and fuzzy. I plug clocks in at midnight so they're already set. Trip the main fuse in the house at midnight to do all the appliances too lol. The real life hack is always in the comments. Same. My granddad puts a battery in a stopped clock in at the exact time it stops so he doesn't have to tweak it. An older company had a person dedicated to data entry, which boiled down to copying and pasting portions of data from text files into spreadsheet and formatting into a report. The person originally doing this job spent a full 40+ hours/week doing it, but was not very computer literate. When they retired, the company hired someone with actual skills. The new hire convinced management to let her work remotely after getting up to speed on the job. The first week at home was spent automating the entire job. The remainder of their multi-year tenure with the company was spent doing whatever they wanted, save the 10 to 15 minutes weekly to run their program and to answer the odd email here and there. All while getting paid full salary and benefits. They actually had to add in a few errors now and then to make it seem realistic. An older company had a person dedicated to data entry, which boiled down to copying and pasting portions of data from text files into spreadsheet and formatting into a report. I've worked a few places that have people doing this. Usually when they retire, the job is given to some younger person that figures out how to do it in 10 minutes on top of the rest of their normal job. In this case, since the retiring person worked full-time doing this and often struggled to meet deadlines, they hired a replacement. My girlfriend works for an insurance company and basically spent months working on spreadsheets to compile quarterly vendor claims for the last 10 years, each quarter with thousands of rows. I just finished my MS in analytics. I spent a few hours with her asking exactly what she needed to do. Wrote 3 lines of code in SQLite and basically saved her months of work. Now when she has to work in these projects, she runs the program and that's that. I was pretty proud of that. I work in insurance. I'm currently on Reddit because I finished my work for the day. It's 1 p.m, I started at 11 and done at 7 p.m. I'm bored already. This is actually my job. I work for a local government entering new, renewed existing and disposal of our assets. Primarily roads and stormwater, essentially anything that is near a road that the local government has to maintain. The old guy who left, at 72 years old, legit wrote everything down before punching it into Excel to be converted into our financial database. When I started, I was shown how the job worked and I asked, did I have to write stuff down? My boss said no, that was just his old school way of doing it. So instead I immediately entered data into Excel, skipping how long-winded first process and cut the job time down significantly. Due to this I got more duties and responsibilities. But it came with a raise. So I guess that's a 50-50 win? I worked goods in for an aircraft manufacturer as a summer job at university. Parts would arrive, we'd open them and key in all the details into a terminal. That bit was long-winded. I discovered the terminal keyboard has assignable shortcuts, and set up a bunch of them for all the boilerplate such that keying in an item was about 6 keystrokes. Saved myself and my workmate hours every day, which we would spend pranking each other, other warehouse staff and staff at other sites. Made yourself more efficient and use the extra time to make your colleagues less efficient? Thanos balanced meme.jpg. Made yourself more efficient and use the extra time to make your colleagues less efficient? Ron Swanson has entered the chat. Given the choice of doing something and doing nothing, I will always choose doing nothing. Unless doing something helps someone else do nothing. I would work all day if it meant nothing got done. Ron Swanson. I knew a guy who had a low-level data/reporting job. He had several daily/weekly work responsibilities, including a bunch of reports that needed quite a bit of tweaking from raw data to finished product. But like I said, low level. We didn't find out until way later, but he had set up macros for each of his major responsibilities where he could. Once set up, he'd just run the macros to do his work, but then he'd, smartly, hold off on delivering the reports until just a little before the deadlines. He'd hit every assignment and was seen as reliable. He also would complain about the workload so people would leave him with that work. I doubt he did a full hour of work a day after he set up what he did. Eventually he left the job for one with better pay. But damn did he work lazy. Also, he was smart not to reveal until the end, because had he told them about it he would have gotten a pat on the back and would have been given a whole other workload, on top of maintaining those macros / etc. Dude milked the job, not the other way around. I know a guy who did this, but he revealed it. The company shared the macros with all the employees. It made everyone's life easier, but they also got an increased workload. The company made a lot more money. And this guy made none of it. He didn't even get promoted. That's why I haven't said a word. The secret is shameless self-promotion. Use secret scripts and automation, but instead of telling everyone else how awesome your scripts are and how well automated everything is, use the output, work, from those and tell everyone how good you are at these tasks and reports and how well you've got it handled. The funny part is that the boss thinks we're dumb enough to spend hours on manually executing stupid meaningless tasks every day instead of automating them. Then he praises us for the amount of time it must have taken us to do said tasks. Good boy. Who wants a paycheck? Do you want a paycheck? Okay, sit. Stay. And, paycheck. I did this, and who was the first one laid off in 2008 when the economy tanked? The dude who didn't do anything but maintain the completely automatic system. I got a call about 2 years later that the server I had set up crashed and they couldn't recreate the process. I never returned the call, and guess who went out of business shortly after? Edit. This got more attention than I was expecting, so some more info. This was a small construction-related company, so they were hit very hard by the 2008 to 2009 recession. I really had no hard feelings about being let go at the time it happened, mostly because I was already looking for something else, anyway. But due to the economy at the time, I still ended up unemployed for another 6 months, and I felt lied to by the owner about his efforts to bring me back, sell one division that would get me a job, etc. One could say I grew more and more bitter about it as time went on. Still, they asked for some help from time to time, and I did go back to do some consulting at a decent hourly rate more than once. It was a year or so after those calls stopped that they were really in the crap. By that time, I was on to a much better job, still there 10 years later, now making literally triple what I made at the construction company. If they could have afforded to pay what I would have demanded, they could have afforded to not have a problem in the first place. The writing was on the wall at that place for a while, so I may have been one of the straws that broke the camel's back, but hardly the first, and probably not the last. Bad management all around killed that business. Should have offered to come back and help them for an exorbitant consulting fee. This. Like twice your yearly salary kind of fee. Quadruple, that way you can hold out until next time, Thorn. I created a macro which did data entry into an AS400 system from Excel. 100% accurate and 100 times faster. I never gave this information up. It saved me so many hours. I kept it quiet. Near the end of my career there I started helping coworkers, and productivity went through the roof. Needless to say, no raises for the department, so I basically left with the macro. I still have contacts there, and it's been 12+ years since I left. They still talk about the productivity levels of 2008 and try to blame the recession. Any good IT guy will find a way to automate his job so he can sit around browsing Reddit. I left my last sysadmin job and the next guy called me and asked how I was doing the work of 3 people. He was going through the daily playbook and was so far behind. I asked him if he was going through the manual playbook, or the automated playbook, as I had left both on my desk. Evidently my former boss had taken the automated one to do the work in the interim and never told the new hire about it. Bingo. The fact that you left 2 manuals is very kind of you though. It was a great environment and great small team, so I made sure they were okay when I left. The only reason I left is somewhere was going to pay me more than double and they could not afford to even come close to matching it. You is the real MVP by documenting your systems. I remember I worked in a small IT department in college and the head admin had everything automated. He'd spend the whole day playing games or watching YouTube, but he still performed all of his duties in a timely manner. One day we played a full game of Civilization V while monitoring the progress of a script that updated everyone in the office from XP to Win 7. All of the work got done on time and correctly, so we really weren't doing anything wrong. If you are doing your job and nothing breaks, they ask why they have you. If something breaks, they ask why they have you. It's the IT catch-22. The flip side is that most people are so technologically illiterate/lazy that performing the most basic of IT functions in front of them makes you look like an ingenious wizard. Then again, they don't share your excitement when you do something actual wizard-like because they lost you after 30 seconds. I automate stuff like that, but I still need to be on hand for when the automation hits a snag. With many automated jobs, this is a regular occurrence. Reminds me of the mysterious firewall issue that Verizon discovered. They noticed that there was a strange VPN connection from China every day from around 9 to 5. This triggered an internal security audit which was unable to determine how the hacker was getting in. They eventually decided to roll out physical security keys to make the VPN more secure. This had the desired effect and the illicit connection stopped, for around 1 week. Then they mysteriously started again. Their network team was baffled as to how this apparent hacker had penetrated their more secure setup. So they called in an external auditor to solve the mystery. It turned out that one employee had hired someone in China to do his work for him. He had several other jobs at other companies that were similarly outsourced to a much cheaper Chinese worker and was pocketing more than $1 million per year in salary above what he paid his remote workers. He had always received exemplary reviews and had even turned down promotions. When they had instituted the physical VPN tokens, the remote employee had been unable to connect while his token was being sent by FedEx. Smart enough to delegate his own job, but not smart enough to set up a local VPN proxy to hide the blatantly obvious foreign IPs, or to just set up a webcam to point at the token. I did this too. I got assigned a new job and found that the work was very labor-intensive. So I coded it and got a 40-hour/week job down to about 4 hours on Monday. Then I went looking for other things to automate in the department. I automated our job routing system, which was manual at the time, and I automated customer letter production, and I automated another manager's job because they left and was going to give the work to me. Totally eliminated that job. Then I got promoted to IT. And here I stay as a lowly space cadet 23rd class because a high-up boss dislikes me and I can't get a promotion. It sounds like you need to change employer. Use your more advanced experience before it goes stale. Years ago as a student I got a job stocking shelves. Guys were carrying the heavy boxes, put them on the floor and bend each time to pick up the items to put on the shelves. I was maybe a light 100 pounds, woman, and carrying the boxes was just killing me physically. So one day I had an idea. I put the box on an old desk chair and rolled it around. No more carrying and no more bending. Funny thing is that, instead of doing the same thing, most of the guys called me lazy and kept carrying the heavy boxes. Just to prove how strong they were. Now they have special rolling carts to do the job. Screw lazy, screw strong. I would have copied you without a second thought. Hell yeah. You don't get bonus pay for having an aching back. Wow, that's ridiculous. A waist-high utility cart is like the #1 ergonomics requirement for moving anything at an indoor job site. My brother gave my oldest nephew $10 a week if he did all his chores without needing to be told or complaining. One day he gets home early from work and sees the neighbor kid tossing a bag in the trash. He asks him what he is doing and the kid says he gets $5 a week to take care of a few chores. My nephew outsourced his chores. I tried doing that as a kid and got a slap on the back of the head. It was just my dad and I. We both hated doing the dishes, so they would stockpile. It got to the point where he offered to pay me $20 just to do them. Before I got around to it, we went down the road to my aunt's. I ended up offering my cousin $10 if he would come over and do the dishes. He accepted. I wasn't allowed to do that again. Outsourcing and child labor? This kid's destined to be a Nike CEO one day. Got to start young. Nestle has entered the chat. Now all he needs is to undercut his employee. Scare him straight by telling him the kid down the block will do it for cheaper, and this quarter the numbers are lower than expected, so take the pay decrease or leave. If he hadn't been caught, he could have eventually gotten a raise while paying his subordinate the same. Lol, my brother was smart like this. My mom worked for Cadbury, and we each received a large batch of candy, tons of chocolate. My brother, not liking sweets, decided to sell them at school. Told his teachers it was a fundraiser, so he made easily over $75. Tons of other similar things like that. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.